Okay. Good evening, dear children. As you have been already informed, right? Today we are going to have a common paper discussion. But actually, we are going to start the discussion of the second term papers of grade 6 from today onwards, Buddhi. Because actually, we are done with most of the important lessons of the second term of grade 6. And actually, even without having knowledge about the remaining lessons, you can try most of the questions of such second term papers, because in second term, not only your second term knowledge, your first term knowledge is also measured. Right, therefore, now we are ready to start discussing second term papers. Right, therefore, I think you are ready with your paper class book. Right, you have not got this paper before. That's the usual way that we conduct paper discussions. In case you need to have time to answer these questions for any working, you can pause the video and play it back to continue the discussion, right? Okay, this is KGOL Division 2019, grade 6, second term evaluation, and we'll see what the questions of this paper are. Actually, Puti, you'll find some questions which are not familiar to you, but I'll be explaining those also, right? But you have to get those answers also copied, right? Oh, no. You can see the first 5 questions. If you like, you can pause the video to have time to try the questions which you can, right? And I'm going to go ahead with the explanation, right? Please mention as part 1. You have to write this number in words. Before writing this number in words, Puti, you have to separate this number into number periods, 3 digits each. You know how to do it, right? Then you can write it in the standard form firstly. 8 space 789 space 100. These are units, thousands, and millions. You know the way to read the number. It's 8 million. $789,000 100. Right? Then the second one. The second question is to write 8:40 p.m. 8:40 p.m. in 24 clock method. Puthe, 24 clock method indicates only the number of hours. PM means 8 hours after 12 noon. Therefore, you have to add 8 to 12. There you get 20. No change of minutes. Connected using colon. The third question. How many circles are in this pattern? You can easily count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, please write the answers entering the question number. Puti. After the session only, I'll be sharing this paper to you. Right? Then you have to perform this subtraction. You must copy the question downwards. 1264 minus, 1246. 1246 minus 364. Right. 6 minus 4 is 2. You ask for 1. 14 minus 6 is 8. 11 minus 3 is 8. It's 882. Right. Then the fifth question. What is this solid? But this solid means Ghana Vastu, right? I think you have learned about Ganakaya, Ganakabaya, and Saviti Chatustalaya in grade 4-5. You know what the name given to this solid in Sinhala? It's Ganakabaya, right? In English, we call it as cuboid. It's a future lesson, right? Dannata make a note down karaganna. Cuboid. How many edges? Edges means pute dara, lines bounding the solid. We'll count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It has 8 horizontal edges and 1, 2, 3, 4. Another 4 vertical edges. 8 plus 4 is equal to 12. The number of edges is 12. Right. Only we are done with the first 5 questions. I think you did not find these questions much difficult. Right now we are moving on to see the next 5 questions of this discussion. Right. It's from estimation, right? A familiar lesson. Estimate the capacity. But the capacity means how much you can fully fill into a container. In Sinhala, we call it as dharitava. Right, you have to estimate the capacity of the container. If it contains 330 milliliters of water, right, you compare what's filled and what's not filled and see how much you can fill into this container. But if you try to estimate, unamama height එක consider කළොත් පුතේ, right, if you compare the height of the water level in the container with what's not filled, right, filled part with but not what's not filled, you can fill another such height. මේ වගේ තව height එකක් ඔයාලට fill කරන්න පුළුවන්. And actually you can't fill another one fully. Usually you don't get such complicated estimations. It's like 2.5, right? 2 times of 330 and like half, no? And therefore, we'll consider that way, not actually 3 times as 330. Therefore, firstly, we'll find half of 330. For that, you have to divide 330 by 2. 2 times 1 is 2. For 13, the number of 2s is 6. 6. 1 remains. 12, 1 remains. For 10, it's 565. Right, then it's the sum of 2 330s and 165. 330 plus 330 plus 165. 5, 12, with 1, it's 8. 825 milliliters. Right, the next one is a simple sum. But at the exam, you don't need to copy this to your answer sheet because you answer the questions in the paper itself. But here you have to answer this question separately. Therefore, you have to copy this to your answer sheet. 2 and 650, 750 to be added. Right, let's add. This is the lesson of liquid measurements. Actually, though we have not done liquid measurements yet, it's a simple sum, right? You know, liters, milliliters. We use liters and milliliters to measure liquid quantities. ද්‍රව ප්‍රමාණ මනින්න. It's a sum. එකතු කිරීමක්. 10 with 1, it's 14. With 1, it's 3. 3 liters and 400 milliliters. The next one is a lesson that you must know. Write all factors of 12, all the numbers by which 12 is divisible. 1 is always a factor of any number. 12 is divisible by 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12 itself. Right, it's question number 8. Then question number 9. The subdirection between south and east, it's a very silly question. Between south and east, you find southeast. Right, the 10th question. You have to simplify the product of 60 into 1000. 60 into 1000 with 3 zeros added, it's 60,000. Right, okay. Now we'll see the next 5 questions of the discussion. Fractions. Right? Copy the sum. 8 over 15 minus 1/3. To add or subtract fractions, it's compulsory to have equal denominators. Actually, you can equal 3 to 15 by multiplying it by 5. If so, the numerator should also be multiplied by the same. Then the first denominator does not change. The second fraction becomes 5 over 15. Right? Lastly, they have a common denominator which is 15. 8 minus 5 is 3. This is a fraction which you can simplify further. Both are divisible by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 15 divided by 3 is 5. It's 1/5. The 12th question. What is the most suitable unit to measure the height of a wall? බිත්තියක, තාප්පයක, උස මනින්න. What's a suitable unit? පුතේ උස කියලා කියන්නේ it's also a length, දිගක්. Right? So you know what the units that we use to measure length are. Meters, centimeters, kilometers, millimeters. They are the units that we use to measure lengths. Right? එතකොට තාප්පයක නැත්නම් බිත්තියක උස මනින්න නම් if you have your general knowledge, it's meters පුතේ. Meters. The symbol is simple M. The 13th question is to mark 2 as A on this number line. Please copy such a number line to answer sheet and mark 2 on it. Right? As I said even before, Pute, pause the video to have time to answer the questions. Right? This time only you are having this common discussion shared to the group. From next week onwards, we'll be having the paper discussions live as usual, right? This is a video that I'm recording only on behalf of you. Therefore, please take the benefit of it, right? අපි මේ සමහර lessons අපිට ඉස්සරහට in the theory class we can discuss. Right, the 14th question. You have to write the second and the third odd numbers. Odd numbers කියන්නේ පුතේ ඔත්තේ සංඛ්‍යා. Right, iratta the numbers which are divisible by 2. Otte the numbers which are not divisible by 2. Right, ඔයාලා iratta සංඛ්‍යා රටාව ලිව්වොත් it is, you know it. 2, 4, 6, 8. Just note down. මේක නිකන් note down කරගන්න පුතේ. These are even numbers. And the odd numbers are 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and so on. Right? There's a certain way to find a given even number or an odd number, but since we have not learned this lesson yet, api directly answers liyamu. You can see what the second and the third odd numbers are. The first odd number is 1, the second odd number is 3, the third odd number is 5. Right? Then the 15th question. Write a similarity between a rhombus and a parallelogram. We have done enough of these questions. We have done enough questions of this type today, right? Because we are already done with the lesson of rectilinear plane figures, rhombus and parallelogram. Puthe api sketch kalot a rhombus. It's like when you give a small push to a square. Square ekකට පුංචි තල්ලුවක් දුන්නා වගේ තමයි rhombus එක. Like this. The parallelogram is like when you give a push to a rectangle. So they have some characteristics in common. එකක් තමයි pairs of opposite sides lying at a constant gap. Right? Pairs of opposite sides are parallel. And the other similarities with the opposite angles are equal. Not all angles, opposite ones are equal. Right? The main common characteristic, pairs of opposite sides lie like railway tracks, no? If you can say pairs of opposite sides are parallel කියලා directly ලියන්න. Parallel. සමාන්තර. There's a permanent gap in between. And opposite angles are equal. That's also correct. But don't write having 4 sides because it's not something very special. It's it's a very basic common characteristic they have. වෙනස්කමක් කියන්නේ කොහොමද පුතේ? All sides are equal in a rhombus, but in a parallelogram, opposite sides are equal. Right? Okay, now we are going to see the last 5 questions of the first paper. Fill in the boxes. Try to fill it. Copy this. 2 over 3 equal to 4 over what? Equal to what over 27? Okay, you can say that these are fractions, no? Some fractions connected by equation means they are equivalent fractions. Since 2 into 2 is 4, sorry, 2 times 2 is 4, you have to take 3 times 2, which is 6. Right? The next one, the denominator changes from 3 to 27 after being multiplied by 9. Therefore, 2 should also be multiplied by 9. You get 18. Remember that you have to enter 2 marks for each correct answer. If there are 2 blanks to be filled, each blank will carry 1 mark. 1, 1, 2. Suggest a suitable name for this group considering a common characteristic with a rabbit, fox, a lion, cat, right? Actually, මෙතන ඉන්නේ මේ omnivore, herbivore, carnivore mix වෙලා. Right? The main characteristic they have in common is they have 4 legs. Right? එතකොට අපි මේවට කියන පුතේ quadrupeds කියලා. එහෙම නැත්නම් animals with 4 legs කියලා ලිව්වත් කමක් නැහැ. Animals having 4 legs or quadrupeds. Siupau. Quadrupeds or animals with 4 legs or 4-legged animals. Hari. The 18th question, you have to circle the smallest one. No doubt, -5 is the smallest. -19. 0.55 and 0.50 are equal. Is it true or false? Well, this is the ongoing lesson, decimal numbers, where we are going to compare decimal numbers. This week only, we'll be discussing the way of comparing decimal numbers after learning how to identify the places. Then, here in this question, right. This is going to be the next part of our discussion this Saturday. Right? Then, if you consider the digits of these two numbers, they seem to be equal. Right? The whole number period is 0 of both. Right? The first decimal place is 5 of both. But the first decimal number does not have a second decimal place. Having no second decimal place means the second decimal place is 0. That's why it has not been written, as it's not compulsory. If actually these two numbers are the same, right? 0.50 or 0.5 mean the same. It's true. It's true. The reason is, කොහොමද අපි ඒක explain කරන්නේ? You can do this illustration. You can enter 0 as a second decimal place. ඔයාලට ලියන්න පුළුවන්. Though there's no second decimal place. In 0.5, it has 0 as its second decimal place. Right. The 20th question. What is the greatest multiple of 2 between 100 and 110? The largest multiple of 2, the multiples of 2 we learned in the lesson of, the lesson of divisibility, where we listed out multiples of 2, and also in the lesson of factors and multiples, we discussed multiples, right? Therefore, it's not something difficult for you. The only thing is you have to consider the region or the range given between 100 and 110. The 100 or 110 cannot be considered. Actually, both of them are also multiples of 2, but you have to disregard them. Since it's between, if it should be the greatest, it should be closer to 110, then it's going to be 108. When we are done with the discussion of the first 20 questions, right now we are going to see a few questions of the second paper, right? Please get ready. Right. The first question from the second paper, right? The first question of the second paper is from fractions, right? ඔයාලට copy කරගන්න වෙනවා පුතේ this diagram to shade 3/4 in it. I'm also copying it for you, right? Therefore, please copy it with me. A rectangle to be copied into 8 equal parts, where you have to shade 3/4. And the next one, when you join these, also you have to keep them copied. You continue your work. Right. Tirupati, if you have to shade 3/4 of it, since this diagram is divided into 8 parts, if it should be 3/8, how many parts, sorry, 3/4, how many parts for 8 කියන එක ඔයාලා හිතන්න ඕනේ. හරිද? එහෙම නැත්නම් you can say that if you need to see, look into this diagram with 4 divisions, you can consider this way on 4 divisions. If you shade 3 out of these, like this, that's correct. But they don't use colored pens to shade diagrams in fractions. Please use the pencil and the ruler to draw lines like this. Right? එහෙම නැත්නම්, if it's 3/8, 3/4, how many parts out of 8? 4 times 2 is 8. Therefore, 3 times 2, which should be 6 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shaded. The next one is to join the pairs of fractions which are equivalent. Equivalent means for the equal කියන එක. Right? Then මෙතන, firstly, I'm going to match 2/5 because 5 is the denominator, which can never be equal to 12 or 42 by multiplying. Therefore, 2/5 must be 8/20. Actually, both the numerator and the denominator have been multiplied by 4. Right, ඊළඟට 3 can be converted into 12 and 42 both. Right, but firstly we'll try 12. 3 times 4 is 12 and 1 times 4 is 4. Therefore, 1/3, the match is 4 12ths, and accordingly, you have to match 6/5 to 5/6 to 35/42. Right. Tirupati, this is how you get marks for the parts of this question. For the shading, you get 2 marks. For each correct match, you get 2 marks. Right? There are more parts of this question. Now we'll move on to see the next 2 parts of the question. Please pause the video to have time to answer the question. Then you can play it back to mark your answers. Part 3 is to compare 9/10 to 4/5. Right? Okay. To compare them, easily you can equal the denominators firstly, because fractions with equal denominators can be compared very easily. You can equal 5 to 10 by multiplying by 2. Accordingly, the first fraction does not change. The second fraction will become 8/10, where the first one is greater than the second one because of 9 being larger than 8. Right? Therefore, the symbol to connect them with is greater than. The fourth question. Nimal spends 1/6 of the salary on food and 2/3 on clothes. You have to find the portion he spent for both of these purposes. දෙකටම වියදම් කරපු fraction එක. 1/6 for food and 2/3 for clothes. Now, to find the total expenses as a fraction, you have to add them, right? In addition, it's compulsory to equal the denominators. 6 is a multiple of 3. Therefore, you can simply equal 3 to 6 by multiplying it by 2 and also 2 by 2. නැත්නම් සමහර අය කරන පුතේ 6 times 3 and 3 times 6 ගන්න එකත් හරි. But your answer must be simplified. Right, the first fraction did not change. Plus 4 upon 6. The denominators are the same. 1 plus 4 is equal to 5. It's 5/6. These two answers carry 2 marks each. Right, therefore, you can finalize your marks out of 12. Sorry. For the first question of this paper this way. Right. Now, we'll see what the next question I have selected for the discussion is. All right. This is from selecting. But I am not discussing all questions of this second term paper. Familiar somehow actually length and liquid measurements are familiar to you, but I'm going to take this time beneficially to revise the lessons that we have done so far, right? Okay. Accordingly, this is the fourth question of the second part of this paper. Right, you have to divide these numbers into 2 groups according to common characteristics, and you have to name what the 2 groups are. Please pause the video to go ahead. Remember, this division must be done in a closed plane figure. මේ shape එක ඕනේ නැහැ. You can draw an oval instead, or a cage, a triangle, any shape you like, or even a circle. I'm going to draw 2 circles. And you have to keep space to name the 2 sets also. Right? You know the way to separate such numbers. These are Hindu-Arabic numbers. And these are Roman numbers. Right? When you write the elements, write them here and there with no proper order. That's how we learned this lesson. Then Roman number 9, Roman number 3, Roman number 6, and Roman number 8. Right. Then part 1, it's done. Dividing into 2 groups. And you have to suggest names. The suggesting names is also done here. You can do it this way. If you name this group as A, this group as B, please follow that way. If this group is A, if this group is B, you can write the description for A and B in brackets like this. Group A is the set of curly brackets puthe. Sangala Varahan. Curly brackets. If you write a description, you can write it within curly brackets, right? These are Hindu Arabic numbers. And B is a set of Roman numbers. Right? Okay. Now we'll see the way to enter marks for the parts of this question, Puthe. The 2 groups carry 2 marks each. The 2 descriptions carry 2 marks each. Right. Now we are moving on to see the next part of this question. Question Part B. It's a very simple one. The well is situated in the direction of, you can write only the answer. The well from the car. Right? If you observe the well from the car, it's to the north. Actually, it should be as the well is situated in, the well is situated to the north of the car. But it's fine, we can understand that they have expected to write the direction here. The child and the tree are in which direction to the house? Child and the tree. Which direction of the house? This is the house. If you observe the child and the tree, they are to the east. Right? These 2 answers also carry 2 marks each. And finalize your mark out of 12 for this question too. Right. Now we are going to see, actually, usually Puthe, when it's a live discussion, since I conduct the discussion interactively, we can answer only the 20 questions of the first part and 1 question from the second part. But since I'm conducting this discussion commonly and such that you can have enough time to answer the questions by pausing the video and continuing, I'm going to discuss another question with you, right, before the discussion ends. Right, අපි කතා කරමු මෙන්න මේ question එක පුතේ. Because when I marked your papers, right, a week before last week, I noticed that some of you, only a few, are not much good in multiplying numbers by 2-digit numbers. Therefore, I think I'm going to discuss this question with you. Not only that, all the parts of it. Right, as the third or the last question of the second part of this paper. Right. Question number 6, part A. You must copy the question downwards. 978 multiplied by 46. Continue multiplication, and the next one is a division. You must apply long division. 3,485 to be divided by 13. Right. Okay. But I'm going to use colors for explaining this to you. But always the number above is multiplied by all the digits of the number below. Firstly, we select 6 to multiply. Right? එතකොට 4 කියලා කෙනෙක් නැහැ කියලා හිතන්න. 6 times 8 is 48. Underneath 6 you write 8, 4 remains. 7 times 6 is 42. 42 plus 4 is equal to 46. 4 remains. 9 times 6 is 54. 54 plus 4 is equal to 58. Right? 6 times 8, 48, 4 remains. 7 times 6, 42 with 4, 46, 4 remains. 9 times 6, 54. 54 plus 4 is 58. Then you select ඊළඟට ඔයාලා තෝරගන්නේ 4 to multiply. Right? Every digit of the number above should be multiplied by 4. 4 times 8 is 32. 2 is written under 4. හතරට පහලින් පුතේ. මෙතනින් නෙමෙයි හතරට පහලින්. 3 remains. 7 times 4 is 28. 28 plus 3 is equal to 31. 3 remains. 4 times 9 is 36. 36 plus 3 is equal to 39. Right, then you have to add these numbers together. 8, 8, 9, 14 plus 1, 4. 44,988. 44,988. Right, done. The next one is division. Division is performed from the left to the right. 3 no 13s for 34. There are 2 13s. 2 times 13 is 26. The remainder is 8. Right, if you can't directly find how many 13s are there for 88, what you should do is, you add some 13s together. Right, 13s කීපයක් ඔයාලා add කරලා බලන්න. Right, until you get a value close to 88. But if you add 6 13s together, ඔයාලට be 78 කියලා. Right, and 13 times 7 will be 91. Therefore, 78 is what you have to consider. 6 times 13 is 78. Then 10 remains. For 105, continue multiplying a few more 13s to find how many 13s are there for 105. Actually, there are 8 13s. Sorry. 8 13s. 13 times 8 is equal to 104. Right? It's 104. I think you also got the same answer. Right. Now, the question does not require, so හැබැයි ඔයාලගෙන් ඇහුවොත් ලියන්න the quotient අහලා නැහැ. We'll write it extra. අපි අමතරව ලියමු. The quotient is the answer you get. And the remainder is 1. Right? Part B is a comparison. I like if you copy these questions to your writing book, then you can use this to study even. Right? But I'll directly enter the symbols here. 6 is definitely greater than 2. And 6 is greater than 0 also. Minus 3 is 3 less than 0. And minus 1 is only 1 less than 0. Therefore, minus 1 is smaller than minus 3 is smaller than minus 1. right? Then when you compare plus and minus with no sign that it's plus, always a positive value is greater. And minus 2 is definitely less than 0, right? Okay. Trupati, this is how you get marks for the parts of this question. This multiplication carries 4 marks. For the division, you get 3 marks. And for these 5 answers, 1 each, එක ගානේ ලකුණු 5යි. You can finalize the mark out of 12. Right? Anapute, this is a very successful discussion, which helps you to revise most of the lessons that we have done so far. Right, and we'll be discussing another paper like this from the second term. I'm not continuing first term paper discussions because all of you are done with your first term exams. අපි ඒ පාඩම් ඉගෙන ගන්න කලින් අපිට පොඩි knowledge එකක් ගන්නත් පුළුවන් by starting the second term paper discussions. Therefore, next week you'll have your live paper discussion as usual. And I prepared this paper discussion for you due to a special reason. Please follow it and try to take the benefit of it. Thank you very much for watching this video. Have a nice week. Stay safe. Goodbye. We'll see each other this Saturday with the continuation of the lesson of decimals. Until then, good night, filled with sweet dreams. Goodbye.